Welcome to Gone Fishing, a show diving into cybersecurity threats that surround our highly connected lives. Every human is different. Every person has unique vulnerabilities that expose them to potentially successful social engineering. On this show, we'll discuss human vulnerability and how it relates to unique individuals. I'm Connor Swalm, CEO of Phin Security, and welcome to Gone Fishing. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Gone Fishing. I'm your host, Connor, CEO at Phin, and today I'm joined by nobody but myself. There's nobody else in this room. There's nobody else talking to me. I'm going to talk about a few things that are near and dear to my heart that I would like to share with everyone. First thing that I'm incredibly interested in that I talk about all the time, not only with my own company and with the people that I have the pleasure of working with, but on LinkedIn or publicly, is company culture. So I thought I'd kind of define it here. What I believe company culture is, how we've done some things at Phin, in case you're looking to change your own culture or hoping that your own company culture is going to change, and some ways that you could actually do that, why it's important, why it works for everybody, and how, it's way more than just corporate events that you get to do once a year, where everyone comes together and you have, the company happy hour. That can be a really good piece of it. But company culture is way more than that. So if you Google company culture, you actually get the following definition. It is the shared values, attitudes, behaviors, and standards that make up your work environment. It is about the experience people have to work and how that experience aligns with the external brand and messaging of the company. Culture is what creates a day-to-day experience at the company. So there's really three important things there that I want to pull out. The first is the shared values. So that's not just what your company sets. That's what your people actually have. So the folks that are working at your company, whatever values they have, regardless of what you say to the public, regardless of what you say to each other, it's what values do the people who work with you actually have consistently? What behaviors do they exhibit? What standards do they have for themselves and for others? That is a huge piece of your company culture. The second is how that set of shared values aligns with what your company is stating. Right. One of the things that really ticks me off is when I see like super blatant examples of companies' marketing departments who are saying one thing about company culture, and then you go to Glassdoor. Now, granted, people who put things on Glassdoor, they're either motivated to do so because they feel incredibly great about it, or because they feel incredibly bad about it. So you're not getting an honest perspective in some cases, but you can kind of get the gist of, is there a large difference between what a corporation says about its company culture and what the people who make up the culture and experience it actually, what their experience really is? And the third is what creates a day-to-day experience at a company. It should come to no shock to everyone listening here, but the values that you have, the attitudes you have towards other people, and the behaviors you exhibit, that comes out on a day-to-day level. It's not something that only comes up monthly or quarterly or yearly. This is a thing that happens day to day. If you really enjoy working with the people you work with, if you guys have a shared system of values, or if you approach problems in roughly the exact same way, or really if you have this set of beliefs that transcends work. Like one of the beliefs we have here is you should always speak the truth, no matter who you believe it's going to offend. Right? If you don't speak what you believe to be the truth, you're robbing everyone else of the ability to understand and interpret it. You're robbing them of the ability of knowing what your opinion is. You're robbing them of the ability to actually engage in a conversation and arrive at maybe they change their own opinions, or maybe you change yours. And that's always welcomed. I believe it's actually a really good sign of a healthy company culture is if people are willing to challenge others' beliefs. And the way I phrased it is like they divorce the value they believe they have in themselves and from the opinions that they hold. So that when people are challenging opinions, they don't feel like it's a challenge of their value or their self-worth. That's really important. Everyone has tons of experience, whether it's with family members, with friends, or with coworkers or other professional relationships, where challenging their belief sometimes causes this incredible emotional reaction. And that's usually, evidence of that person holds the value that they have for themselves. And it's all wrapped up in the beliefs that they have. And I think that's just not the right way to see things, because the beliefs you have today might not be the beliefs you have tomorrow. And that's very okay. You should always be willing to assimilate new information and new opinions into what you actually believe and how you conduct yourself as a person going forward. So a couple of questions that I've had a lot of folks ask me publicly and privately about company culture that I'd really like to go with you is the first is, why is company culture important? So, above and beyond work-life balance, above and beyond a generous PTO policy, I'm just going through things that people believe are evidence of a good culture. And we'll get into what those things actually are. Uh, you know, Above and beyond good healthcare, above and beyond other benefits that may or may not exist. Why is culture really important? Well, there's really two main areas. One is a person's career in general, whether they'd like to admit it or not, is a very small portion of their life. At the very most, if they're actually working 40 hours a week, every week of the year for their entirety of their life, it is 1/3 of their life. And so as a result, company culture is what I believe to be like a set of guiding principles that enforces that boundary of the understanding needs to be that this is a very small portion of my life. I generate a ton of value and fulfillment for myself and for everyone around me outside of work. And that should be celebrated. That should be supported by the company. It should be celebrated by everyone at the company as well. It should be honestly like a standard operating procedure, is that you don't derive the majority of your value as a human being based on the work you do at your company. Now, you can, right? Like, I'm incredibly fulfilled building a company with people that I really enjoy building it with, and then also putting a dent into cybercrime. That is a very rewarding thing. But I'm one of the owners of the company, right? That's not everyone's use case, and I'm incredibly privileged to be here to be doing that. So I recognize that. So company culture is really important because it sets that boundary for people who have these incredibly fulfilling lives outside of work, and frankly should. It's like, that should be, everyone can go back to experiences they had with good or bad managers, right? And how do you differentiate managers you felt really good about having and managers you felt really bad about having? And really, like, through a really simple lens, it's the managers that helped you understand how you could be the best version of yourself, how you could pursue the opportunity you felt was best for yourself and for your family, versus the managers that just wanted to extract some kind of value that they could put on a spreadsheet and justify up the chain to maybe higher level managers or CEOs based upon your productivity. That's really the difference between good and bad managers, is those that help you get all the value you can out of yourself. And the bad managers are those who extract all the value out of you just for the purpose of the company. Very, very, slightly different, but very important delineation. Second question I see all the time is, well, who actually gets to set company culture? And this is the way that I have phrased it to everyone, is it is the responsibility and the opportunity of all the employees to set the company culture. It is the responsibility and the opportunity of the managers and the leadership to enforce the company culture. So at the end of the day, if you're reading a ton of books on either building companies or self-improvement, you'll get to a point where it's basically like the people that you work with, where the books are telling you the people that you work with are incredibly important, that the culture you have is not necessarily the things that you say, but it's the collection of the people that you have at the organization. And for anyone who's built a company, or for anyone who's in the process of doing that, or for anyone who is near the ground floor of a company who didn't really have a solidified culture when you got there, you'll probably understand that to be true, is that it's the people that get to create it. And it's the people that do create it, whether the leadership likes it or not. And so that's why all these, self-help books, or how to build a company, or, scaling, or the 7 habits of highly successful people, a lot of that advice centers around making sure that the right people who have the right set of values are consistently around you, and that you're consistently working with them. So it's the people at the end of the day that really get to set it, but it's the managers that get to enforce it. If somebody steps out of line, if their values begin to become disaligned, or if they behave in such a way that the rest of the company doesn't believe it should be appropriate, that's when the managers and the leadership have the opportunity to step in and reinforce the boundary. So with that being said, what is the responsibility of the employees? So I've talked with owners, C-suite, high-level managers, low-level managers. I've talked with the newest employees at partners and companies we work with. I've talked with the longest-running employees of companies that we work with. And I would say this is, most employees that I talk to, the people who are not in positions of high-level leadership, they don't have a ton of people reporting to them, but they're still doing amazing work. They believe the exact opposite of what I just stated. They believe it's inherently outside of their control to set the culture, that their managers not only have the ability, but have more information than they do to set it. And one thing I would say, not only from my personal experience, but from conversations I've had with other leaders in other companies, some of which are thousands of times larger than mine, is that they really don't have the information. The people who are working at the front lines, they have a better idea of the people that are working with them, around them. They have a better idea of what culture would actually work for the business. And that's because you're way closer to the source of information. You're way closer to the data. You are the person doing the work that creates, the discrete improvements, or the numbers keep going up, the activities keep getting done. It's not the managers and the leadership that are doing those activities. It's you. And so you know what would work best in your culture to help facilitate more of that. Sometimes that means giving people, mental health days, or a more generous PTO policy, or increasing benefits in some other fashion. Sometimes it's getting rid of toxic people and being able to admit as a company when there are people who are antithetical to the company's beliefs and values, and, confronting that they made the wrong hire, and excising those people from the company in a beneficial way. So what's also the responsibility of the managers? Well, there's a few things, but the primary thing that I think actually is the responsibility of any good manager is a healthy dose of humility. And what I mean by that is a lot of managers are really great at their job, but the people that they hire, you're hiring those people because they're creative and capable. So if you get a manager that's micromanaging you, or if you get a manager that isn't really investing in you or your career or anything you'd like to do in or out of your career, you begin to really feel that. You not only feel like there's a cap on your ability to work at a company, how far up in the company you can progress, but then you also believe something slightly different, which is that there's a cap on you as an individual, that you can no longer progress as a human in other areas of your life because you're held back in this other area of your life, which would be your career. And so I would say it is the responsibility of managers to have this healthy dose of humility to approach the employees that report to them, or others that don't, say, hey, we don't know what we're doing all the time. Can you help us do this? Can we arrive at something that works for everybody? And the last set of responsibilities I believe is really important to understand is, what is the responsibility of the actual owners of the C-suite? And you'll kind of see how these all layer into one another. Hiring a good or a bad manager is the difference between having incredibly high turnover, incredibly low turnover, good performance, and bad performance. It's that simple. Is if your managers have that healthy dose of humility, if they have that understanding of everyone that works with them as creative and capable, if they don't view the people that report to them as, stepping stones to get up in their career, but as humans that deserve dignity, investment, and opportunity, you're going to watch that group of people fly, right? They'll not only tell you how they're doing with the responsibilities you've given them and the metrics that you'd like to see improved, they'll start to come up with their own. And that's really evidence of having a really good manager. So if you're an owner, if you're a C-suite, if you're hiring your first set of mid-level managers, wherever you are up or down the chain of business maturity, just understand that the managers that you hire and the people you give them responsibility over is going to be one of the most impactful decisions you will ever make, good or bad, because it can be either. A question I get asked all the time too, that I find, I don't want to say disheartening, but shocking, is what is evidence of a good company culture? So I started with a set of things at the beginning of this call, where I said, it's way more than good benefits. It's way more than generous PTO. It's way more than all this. And I would say this. I have always operated myself from the standpoint of everyone around me will always pursue what they believe to be the best opportunity for themselves and for their family. That's just a fact of life. People do what they believe is best for themselves in the long run, right? If you're lying to somebody about opportunity, they'll pursue it in the short term until they find out that you're just lying to them. But in the long run, everyone pursues what they believe to be best for themselves and for their family. So evidence of a good company culture is when you not only encourage that, but you foster it, right? You create opportunity for people to pursue opportunity that they want. And examples of that could be, you're not just making them better at the job they have today, you're making them better at the job they want tomorrow. If they'd like to go have the responsibility and the privilege of creating their own company and knowing what that feels like, you celebrate that, you help foster that, you help create that, you give them this opportunity to have a modicum of safety and security while they're doing that, because it's a very insecure, unsafe thing to do, to start your own company from nothing. And so I would say the primary evidence of a really good company culture is when there is almost like this enforced investment in opportunity that any employee would want to see. You don't get to choose that for you. You don't get to choose what somebody views to be the best opportunity for themselves. You might get to influence it, but even then, that's not your job. It's your job to support the opportunity, not to influence it or to change it. And then I would say, what is evidence of bad company culture? So again, I'm not going to mention all the pedantic things like bad benefits, bad healthcare. I would say this. One of the biggest things that me and my co-founder, Josh, for those of you who don't know, wanted when we started Phin was we were willing to make a bet. And that bet was that if people didn't worry about their health, they didn't worry about their financial security, they didn't worry about the health of their family, they didn't worry about the scale of opportunity they had access to, that they would show up and they would do way better work than anyone else we could possibly hire, and that it would all work out in the end. It's not an altruistic endeavor to have good company culture. It actually creates measurable results. That's not only the bet I'm willing to make, but it's the bet a lot of other larger companies have measured. And so I would say this, evidence of a bad company culture, if you're working at a company and you're thinking to and you go back through some of the thoughts and the feelings you've had surrounding yourself and your career, and any of them are surrounded with, I'm worried about my health and my family's health. They make me work too hard, or I make myself work too hard. And nobody stopped me and said, hey, you're degrading your mental health because you're killing yourself to make this happen. You don't need to do that. Please stop, go take care of your health. There's literally checks and balances in a company that has really good company culture that will prevent you from damaging your health in pursuit of creating a company goal. And so evidence of bad cultures, if you've had those thoughts where you're worried about your health, you're worried about opportunity, you're worried about your safety, you're worried about your finances, and maybe you've had conversations with your managers about it. Maybe you've had conversations with your leadership about trying to fix those things, and maybe they have fallen on deaf ears. That would be evidence of a bad company culture. Is a statement that I've always made is it's the responsibility of the company to make it work for the employees, not the other way around, right? It's not the responsibility of the employees to work for the company. When you sign your employment agreement, that is absolutely a part of the legal agreement we're all entering into together. But I believe, top down, it's a responsibility of the company to make sure it works for the employees. It gives them a place where they feel like they're pursuing the opportunity they want, and they have the freedom to go pursue other opportunities as well. And in a weird way, like letting go of that, even though it feels uncertain, and allowing people to know that they can pursue any opportunity they want, in a weird way makes them want to pursue opportunity with you more. So that's what I would say. That's a lot of the thoughts I have on company culture in general, what it is, and some evidence of it. If you have any questions about this, I talk about this a lot on LinkedIn. So I'll have links to my LinkedIn. I'll have links to Phin's LinkedIn. If you wanted to reach out to the company to ask any sort of question, we'd be happy to connect with you. Or you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. Send me a DM. Say you liked or didn't like any of my comments, and I'd be happy to chat with you about them. But anyway, thanks so much for listening. It was a blast sitting here pontificating to you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in to Gone Fishing. If you want to find out more about high-quality security awareness training campaigns, how to launch them in ways that actually engage employees to change their habits, then check us out, Phin Security, at phinsec.io. That's phinsec.io. Or click all of the wonderful links in our show notes. Thanks for fishing with me today, and we'll see you next time.